Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us and hope you'll continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. I am Mohammed Malai here with my incredible co-host, Zach Evans, and our amazing guest of the day, Caroline Marshall. How's it going? Hello. Please introduce yourself, what you do, where you're from, how old you are, etc.
Yeah, I'm Caroline Marshall. I'm 28 years old, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. So I moved here about exactly 7 months ago. God, that's
here being
crazy.
LA.
Yeah, in LA, in West Hollywood. And it doesn't feel like it's been 7 months. It feels like it was yesterday, but also 10 years ago. So,
Do you see a drastic difference between Nashville and Los Angeles?
No, and that's the weirdest thing. So Nashville is basically a mini Southern LA with more fried food and less vegan options. So, I mean, of course it's Music City, but it's branched out more than just being about country music. So it's about all the genres now. It's a melting pot. And so it's similar to LA and how everyone who lives there is there to be a performer, to be in the industry to some capacity. They are there to enhance their careers. And that's kind of how it is in LA, at least because of the circle that I'm in, being an actress. And so that's what I do. I'm an actress and a model and a writer. And also a bartender, because, you know, we're on strike right now in the writing and acting world, so that's great.
So plan D has to kick in.
Exactly. You know, it builds character. Yeah.
How's the strike going?
It's going.
I was talking to a producer / director the other day, and I was like, what's going on? And he goes, oh, we're like, it's a stalemate. Like, nobody's doing anything. People are just kind of waiting for somebody to make a move. And I'm like, that seems strange. Do you guys have a union?
So I'm actually not in SAG yet. I'm SAG eligible, but I haven't really, honestly, with the strike, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep that on the back burner until it's over. I'm still able to work as long as it's a non-union project. So I did an episode of a TV show like 2 weeks ago. And you know, that was great. And it's not crossing the picket line. Because, you know, I'm a part of this as well, where I agree with what we require as actors and as writers, where, you know, our demands must be met. It's a pretty big deal. No one's getting paid correctly. So, you know, I'm still able to work, but just not, I'm not going to be in a Marvel movie or anything anytime soon.
It just feels like the people who are on the top have the resources not to do anything or like wait it out, as opposed to where the people on the bottom don't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, people's livelihoods are at stake. And this isn't just actors or writers. This is also people who are a part of the production team, right? It's the crew. It's like the sound guys. It's, you know, everyone. And so these are people with families. This is their career. You know, they have to put that on the back burner for now because, you know, they do deserve to be paid more and to get the benefits that they deserve. So it's unfortunate, but it's a necessary process to get where we need to be in the industry.
What would you say is the biggest change from going from Nashville to LA?
It's bigger.
That's it?
Well, no, there's so many. And so this is the weirdest thing that I tell people all the time. So you know how the South is known for being very hospitable. It's Southern hospitality. Everyone's really nice. Not necessarily. So what I like about LA is that people are nice and they are polite, but it's not coded in I don't know, like this backstabbing, bless your heart kind of tone. Because in the South, like, people are cutthroat and people are mean and horrible. Like, people are everywhere in the world, but it's people are more manipulative. And maybe that's just because I grew up in the church. And so, you know, the most manipulative people you'll ever meet in Southern churches. Not all of them, but in my experience, a lot of them.
I'm surprised you say that about Nashville. I lived there for 2 years.
Oh, really?
And I always felt like people there were more willing to help you out on stuff than LA. Where LA, people see as competition more.
Not in my experience,
Maybe
granted.
it's the church thing.
It's probably the church thing. I went to very toxic churches growing up.
Did you go to the ones where it's like a TED Talk? And then it's like a rock band afterward.
Oh my God.
And then they're like, make sure you give money to the poor, everybody.
Oh my God. You have no idea. No, I went to this one church. I'm not going to drop the name because I enjoyed it. But every single week they would just guilt trip you so hard about not giving tithes and offerings. And these are like, the church was mainly comprised of college students. It was a very young demographic. And so no one has money, but they were just like on us about giving money every single Sunday. And it was like a 30-minute long discussion of why you should do it. And they're like, you don't have to, but just know that
guilt tripping.
You should. And so one day I was working at this coffee shop as a barista, and I'm walking outside cleaning some tables, and I see my pastor and his wife and kids in a Rolls Royce. Just, oh man. And I was like, what? You've been acting poor this whole time? Where did this come from? So that was really upsetting. And I've seen that so many times. So, that's a little bit of a segue. But basically, in my experience in Tennessee, that's a lot of the people that I was unfortunately surrounded by. So, yeah, here people have been super nice. Surprisingly so. I was ready to be very on guard with everyone because I've always heard horror stories of like people just want to exploit you. There's so much competition. Everyone just wants to take and take and take from you. And I was like, okay, well, knowing that, I am going to be very guarded. Honestly, I have had a very positive experience here so far with people just genuinely wanting to collaborate, not just wanting to give you things just for the sake of it, but wanting to like be on the same team. So I've really enjoyed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who was that megachurch pastor that?
Joel Osteen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Can we curse?
You could do whatever you want.
Fuck Joel Osteen. Fuck that little bitch. I hate that guy. I don't hate anyone, but I strongly, strongly disapprove of him.
Did he just steal a bunch of money? Is that his thing?
It's a con. All of it's a con. It's a business. It's a corporation. What was it? He's in Texas, right? I think he's like, his main church is in Texas. That's where he lives. During a hurricane or some sort of disaster, he refused to open up the church itself just for shelter.
Oh, shit.
He refused. He's like, no, we just upholstered these benches. We are not going to allow anyone to soil these beautiful benches. And I'm like, so, okay, I've read through the Bible twice. I'm not a technical believer anymore because it's a whole other conversation. But I know the scriptures, backwards and forwards for the most part. I've literally been to Israel. Like, they are the antithesis of what you're supposed to do, right? If you're going to follow Christ. But anyway, sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but
No, continue. That's totally fine. There's no tangent in this episode.
Okay, good. Thank God. Because I can talk about this for a minute. No, it just makes me really mad. And ironically, I was reading my Bible this morning. I know that sounds really weird because I'm not a Christian, but I still enjoy it and appreciate just learning from all religions and just belief systems. It's fascinating to me. But just especially being from the South, just seeing how people have used it to actively harm others, like not just in a passive, oh, I'm just ignorant sort of way, like actively weaponizing it to oppress people and to just like hurt even their family members. Like, it's atrocious, and it's something that I would like to see change. So
yeah, I mean, people are still people, and that part of the equation never changes. And unfortunately, people try to use their religion and the fact that they go to church as an excuse to do whatever else they want and make it seem that they're still good people.
Oh yeah.
And that just doesn't make you a good person just because you go to church.
I don't believe that a single person is actually religious, like by the book religious.
Yeah.
On the planet, not a single. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, imagine you got a new job, right? So first day on the job, boss plops employee handbook down in front of you. He said, okay, read the rules in here. If you follow all these rules for a year, buy the book, you get $10 million, you're set for the rest of your life, your kids never have to pay a bill. If you don't follow the rules, then you go to prison for the rest of your life. you would be in that book every single day reading it. If it said, don't have sex with your coworkers, you wouldn't have sex with your coworkers. If it said, we have a meeting every Sunday for 1 hour, don't miss it, you would make it every single Sunday. Not, oh, the football game's on, I'm hungover. You would go every single time if you actually believed it. But I don't think anybody actually believes it word for word. I think some people believe in the idea of it, but I don't think anybody actually believes it.
That is such a good point and metaphor for it, or analogy for it.
I'm really good at metaphors, yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, because you're right. And guess what? The stakes are higher in religion because we're talking about an eternal soul. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about like life in jail, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about burning in hell. Mm-hmm. Like a devil with a pitchfork is stabbing you constantly. And people act like they believe it. They don't really, you're right. They don't really believe it.
What's the biggest con about Christianity?
The biggest
con, a part of Christianity, is that they make you believe that Christ sacrificed for everybody else's sins. And so every time you go to church, all the sins that you've committed for the past week up until that Sunday has been forgiven.
Yeah.
So rinse and repeat.
How it works. I think you have to go to confession.
That's
that too.
Catholicism.
Say like
but that's Catholics.
10 Our Fathers and then 20 Hail Marys. And then
right. So that's what the Catholics believe. But then the Christians...
Which actually makes more sense.
Right.
It's like at least you have to do something.
At least. But the Christians now took out that part of the equation.
Thank you, Davey.
I can do anything. Forgive me. Okay. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry anymore. And now, but Christians took out that part of the equation, and now you're left with just show up. Yeah. Just come to church, listen to the pastor. He'll clean you up. You're no longer dirty.
Of Christianity.
Well, yeah.
In some circles, there are others that are very, very strict, that are borderline cultish, and those are the really scary ones. And something that I'm unfortunately very familiar with on a personal level, but yeah, it's mostly just used for manipulation at the end of the day, because like you're saying, they don't actually believe it, because if they did, they would actually put their money where their mouth is. They would actually be out there doing charity work all the time. They would be adopting children. Mm-hmm. They would be doing all of the good, holy things that honestly every single human being should be doing regardless. But they need the threat of hell first to want to be a good person, which also invalidates your belief system in the first place. Because if you need the threat of eternal damnation to be a good person, then I don't trust you as a person. Mm-hmm. Well, there was another thing I was going to say. I forget what it was.
You know what else is crazy about the Bible? Not a lot of people know this, but I had to research because I was arguing with my brother about it. He's like super religious.
Oh, no.
There's only one passage in the Bible that says don't have sex before marriage, which is probably like the most broken code in the Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
There is an entire chapter on the right way to treat your slaves.
Oh, I know.
I'm not joking. People think I'm joking when I say it's an entire chapter. Oh, if your slave does this, you chop off his hand. If he does this, you poke his eyes out. I was like, what is in the Bible?
I know. What kind of Machiavellian shit is this?
Yeah, literally.
No, and it gets worse too, because they have other stuff, like even Sodom and Gomorrah, like how they're...
I don't know that part, yeah.
Okay, well, it's a whole thing, but yeah, you're totally right. We're talking about the first 5 books of the Old Testament, and we're probably talking about Leviticus.
Probably.
Yeah, and even in the New Testament, they talk about slavery, and they talk about how to treat your slaves. It's a little nicer. But they still don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can't talk about that. That's objectively wrong. But then when it talks about sexual immorality, it's like, no, this is Bible, as the Kardashians would say, because literally the Bible. Yeah.
But that's why I'm like, okay, it's so obvious to me that like some dude wrote this book, because all the stuff that's like society figured out, wait, this is really fucked up. Now it's always, oh, that's a metaphor. Oh, they didn't actually mean that. That's just a historical recount of the blah, blah, blah. But then all the stuff that they want to keep, they're like, oh, no, this is actually like the word of God. Definitely still follow this one. But all that other stuff, yeah, that's just a metaphor, blah, 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 blah,
Exactly. But it suits their agenda. It suits their narrative, right? Because it's usually used for manipulation, which is how cults form as well. Because what's the main correlation between all of these say cults and religions that are very staunch in their belief, that aren't just like come to church on Sunday and you're forgiven, where they live and breathe their religion? it's usually power, right? It's like Joel Osteen. It's an exercise of power for wealth and for pussy usually.
That's true.
But there are
the Mormon or whatever.
Oh, Mormons?
Yeah. So all like most religions, it's like, yeah, they were starting like the 1200s or BC or whatever. It's like, yeah, like there's all these, yeah, he got eaten by a whale and he survived, but like there's no video footage because it was before cell phones, blah, blah, blah. This motherfucker was born in like 1920 or something. Like there's still like he was alive like at the time, and people are like, oh yeah, so you got these invisible tablets and they told you what to do. He's like, yeah, as many wives as you want. I want as many girls as I want. They can't have any other husbands. I was like, wait a second. This seems like you're just finessing the system to me.
He totally is.
Yeah. And he succeeded. He built the whole thing. He probably had like 100 wives. Like, I don't even know. But
oh no, so many.
Yeah.
And only the ones we know about too.
That's true.
Because they have so much secrecy. I mean, a lot of these people, even traditional Christian pastors, they're like fucking 14-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I heard this one story. It was this pastor and his wife. Like they took in this, I don't know, she was like in her early teens, like 12, 13. They took in this girl and they were like, oh, this is so charitable of us. Look at us. We're so awesome. And they paraded her around the congregation. They were like, look, we're such good Christians. The husband, the pastor, was fucking her for years because they adopted her and he was just having his way with her the whole time, on top of all the other infidelities that he had secretly for years and years and years. And you know what the church did? They forgave him. And they were like, oh, you know what? He's sorry. No, he's sorry he got caught.
Yeah. Forgive him, but gay people know they have to burn in hell. Yeah,
absolutely. Can't have any butt stuff. No.
Yeah. He confessed, and now he's forgiven.
Yeah. The double standards. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's all manipulation. It's all a power tactic. Like, none of it makes any sense. And it really frustrates me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of religion essentially was created to give direction at the time when it was needed.
Oh yeah, because they didn't have science.
Right. So I think whenever you have to do a revision of a first version of something, just because people either don't understand it, there's so much fucked up shit that doesn't apply anymore. You know, the way I see it, it's God wouldn't be confused.
God wouldn't be confused. You know what I like? I love this one line, and unfortunately it's from Batman versus Superman. Maybe it's from the comics. I don't know. But Lex Luthor says, if God is all powerful, he cannot be all good. If God is all good, he cannot be all powerful. Drop the mic. Like, sure. It's true, though. You can't argue that. It's like, if we're going to live in a rational world, and we all agree that we're rational people for the most part as a race, as humanity, then you have to agree with that. I've said that to people, to other Christians, and they have tried to fight me on it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's your argument? Their argument makes no sense. It's just a roundabout, like, oh, well, I'm going to quote this scripture, and that solidifies my point. I'm like, no, you're quoting the book that supports your agenda without actually having logical reasoning behind it, which is insanity.
It is.
Yeah.
Because any argument you make, it's like, oh, why do you believe this? Oh, well, it all boils down to faith, you know, because it's like, oh, we got it from the book. Well, how do you know the book's right? Because God made it. How do you know God's real? Because of faith. Like, it's like, it all boils down to faith, which isn't like a logical argument. It's just,
it's not.
You can't argue with it, yeah.
And one thing I will say is, like, I do not hate on organized religion. I hate it when it hurts people. Mm-hmm. But if someone walked in the room right now and said, like, oh, hey, like, I'm a Christian, I'm not going to jump down their throat and be like, why are you? You know, like, I respect it. I do. Because I used to be a very, very religious person, and I really believed it. And I do think that I tried my best to be the best version of myself. I turned into an adult, and then I started to think freely, but I do not hate organized religion or anyone who practices it. But I do think at some point everyone needs to hold themselves accountable for how their belief system impacts the rest of the world.
Well, yeah, most people need an excuse in order to, one, make themselves feel better for the sins they commit. And you know, what is sin really? It's just your sort of intuition trying to force morals and ethics down your throat. And, at the end of the day, there is good and bad, but most of good and bad is a matter of perspective and perception, what society teaches you. I was talking to somebody yesterday about how there's a friend of mine. She's a vegan. She's very into, saving animals, and sends, posts videos on animal cruelty and like stuff like that. Now, all that is fine, great, but the part that kind of makes me realize that people don't really understand certain things is when she started posting something about how in Africa there are people that sort of have dogs that they sell for people to eat, and suggesting that like dogs are like, they shouldn't be killed for food, etc., etc. And I was having a conversation to saying like, I don't really understand that argument, because you in the country that you live in, they're killing chickens and fish and cows. The only difference between here and there is the cultural acceptance of the animals that they kill.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're still killing animals. Now, to give her credit, she's saying there shouldn't be any animals that are killed and eaten, which is fine. But there are people who still, would, for example, eat the cow and the chicken and the fish. But then when it comes to dogs, they all of a sudden become human rights activists.
Yeah.
Particularly because dogs' rights activists.
Which, I mean, I think it's very nuanced, but at the same time, it's kind of a necessary thing to consume animals, especially in certain parts of the world. If you can afford to not do it, then good for you. Honestly, I think that's awesome. I think it'd be great if we did live in a world where we didn't have to do that, but it's it's kind of elitist in my opinion when people get really mad about people eating animals.
Yeah, because they obviously lack resources.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they would why would they do that? Like, it's not like it's like the most delicious thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody would be eating it.
Exactly. It's really expensive to. Protein. You need protein, right? And I'm trying to move in the direction of being vegetarian myself, but only because I'm now in a financial place where I can really do that and be healthy and feel good. But I mean, like, are you going to tell like a family of like 5, like, why are you eating meat? And it's like, well, I have kids to feed. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. I can't just feed them salad all the time. Like, I know there are other ways to do it and to work around it, but it's just, the privilege behind it is very, very real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you right now live with one roommate.
Yes. My best friend.
She's amazing. She's
incredible. Oh, God, we were having a conversation last night because we were tripping shrooms and we were just having the best day. And so whenever we do that together, though, we really do like to make it less about just having a good time and having fun, although we do, and make it more about like introspection, healing, just having real conversations. And so we just got into it yesterday where I was like, you're just one of the most amazing human beings I've ever had the privilege of knowing, and vice versa.
I've never seen two people get along so well.
Right?
Like you two, it's kind of crazy to me. How did you guys meet?
So it's a funny story. We met in Nashville, and she was visiting from LA, and she wasn't supposed to be there an extra day, but she decided to extend her visit, right? She came to Nashville not knowing anyone. She's just adventurous like that. She was like, I'm just going to go to Music City because she's a musician, an incredible musician. And so she just wanted to go feel it out because she thought of maybe relocating there. And so anyway, we meet at this bar in Nashville called Play. A very semi-famous spot, I guess. And I had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship And it was like within that week that I had gotten out of it, I was so depressed and sad. And I wasn't supposed to be out that night either. I had just gotten off work and my coworkers were like, Caroline, don't be sad. Just come out and party. And I was like, okay, I'm going to text my ex. I know it. And so go to this bar and I'm about to call my Uber because I've had enough. I'm like nearing tears. I'm just like, I can't be here with all these people who are having fun when I'm clearly not. So I'm about to leave, and there's a picture of this moment on our refrigerator because Kayla has this film camera, and so she'll just take pictures of random things wherever she is. So this girl she was hanging out with, she handed her the camera, and she says, look at this sad, cute girl over here. Take a picture of me before I go up to her. And so there's a picture of Kayla like dancing, and then I'm in the back on my phone. And it's the best picture ever. I'm going to have it framed one day, like blown up and framed. And she comes over to me and she says, hi, can I buy you a drink? Can we hang out? And I was just like, it was like this angel had just appeared with like this very visible white light around her. I swear to God, I'm not making that up. It was very ethereal. And I was like, yes, okay, I'll stay a little longer. Canceled my Lyft. And then we hung out the rest of the night. Like, we're just dancing, having a good time. And then she's like, do you want to go to this strip club next door? And I was like, absolutely. I haven't been to a strip club in a long time. And so we go across the street to this strip club. And we're hanging out, having a good time. This girl who she met also on her vacation decided to tag along. And she, they were about to start dating or something. I don't know. They had a thing going on. So I didn't want to interfere with that. So I was like, okay, well, that was a cool little interaction meeting her. And so I'm about to leave. And then all of a sudden something stops me. And I was like, well, I don't have her Instagram or her number, but I like really vibe with this person. I know she's not from here, but like, I just need to like talk to her really quick. And this happens to me occasionally, very rarely. Where I feel very compelled to deliver a certain message to someone. And it's like, I don't even have control over it. It just happens. Like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I do have a sense of faith to an extent wherever that resides. I don't have, you know what I mean? But basically I like grab her and I was like, hey, I just have to tell you something really quick. And I know nothing about her, by the way. I have no idea that she's a musician, that she's a creative person at all. We were just like, being stupid back at the other bar, just drinking and having a good time. And also, I'm not very drunk at this point either. I had like 3 drinks max. And so I grab her and I just like look deeply into her eyes in a very platonic way. And I just say, I know it sounds very romantic, but it was very platonic. And I just like grabbed her face and I was like, you're so incredible and beautiful. And I know I don't know you well at all, but I just know that you have such a light to share with this world. And I know it has something to do with your voice. And I really want to stay in touch with you because I want to see how that manifests in your life. And I feel so excited for you because I feel like incredible things are about to start happening in your life, fame related. And she starts tearing up just a little bit. And she's like, well, I'm a dancer and a musician. And I was like, I knew it. And so anyway, we exchanged information. I'm like, I'm probably never going to see her again. But we kept in contact over the next few months. And then she reaches out to me and she's like, hey, I'm shooting a music video. Would you like to come and act in it? And I was like, absolutely. Fly out to LA. We do the music video, have a great time. It's an amazing music video. It's called Outrageous. And then we just became really close. And then we also did a short film together where we were both the leads and, just kept doing projects together until finally I was like, okay, I'm ready to move to LA. And then she was like, why don't we just live together? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And so best decision I ever made. Couldn't be happier in the situation that I am in now. And that's what we were gushing about yesterday while tripping. I was like, this is just so serendipitous. I have no idea how we got so lucky to be in each other's lives like this. Like, this doesn't happen all the time. So anyway, that was a long story, but there it is.
So the reason why I brought that up was I'm curious. It just seems like you guys get along just fine and you're like a perfect match, but there's got to be some sort of a conflict that you go through.
You would think, wouldn't you?
I would like to think there is. I mean, look, I know a very few people, probably like 2 people. Zach's one of them, who's just like very easy to get along with, very easygoing, and just he's like one person. There's like another one of our friends who's like that. But aside from these 2, every other person that I've ever met has some sort of an issue and something that you would have to deal with, if that makes sense.
And no, it totally makes sense. And in my experience with friends, that has always been the case, where either, they have some weird little problem with me or I have a weird little problem with them. That's just humanity, right? No one's perfect. But I haven't, and knock on wood, we haven't encountered an issue with each other yet. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of it ever happening, because if it does, then I'll still love her no matter what. But there's no conflict ever. Like, we agree on everything. We like cook together. We're basically wives. Like, we do everything together. We always have a great time. Like, and I was expecting there to be some sort of conflict to arise, because I have had so many different living situations and so many different roommates and friends in my life where there's always been something that happens. Whether, like, one of my roommates back in Nashville, he was like tripping bath salts or something. That's not really tripping, but he was on bath salts, and he runs into my room at 3 a.m. and he goes, "Caroline, I'm in love with you," and freaked me out. And then we had to call the police and, got arrested and stuff. But stuff like that has always been my experience with roommates. And so this is the first healthy situation that I've been in, not just with a roommate, but also with a friend who I feel totally supported by and really loved. And there's the weird thing about our relationship is that there's no jealousy, because she's a gorgeous girl and insanely talented. And I just want to like build her up. I don't want anything. I don't know. I just want to see her succeed, and she feels the same way toward me. So I think as long as we maintain that iron sharpening iron mentality, there's really no real issue that we wouldn't be able to overcome at any point. So
it's crazy, because whenever I talk to guys in LA and I'm like, "Oh, how long you guys been friends for?" "Oh yeah, we've been boys for 5 years. We've been boys since high school." It's always like a long time, like all of their friends. But like girls, it's so rare. It's like, "Oh, like who's your best friend?" "This person." "Oh, how'd you guys know each other?" "Yeah, we met 2 weeks ago."
I know.
I'm like, but it's every girl. I think it's just like in LA, it's just like so cutthroat for girls, and like so like competitive mindset and jealousy and all that kind of stuff, that it's kind of like crazy, It's
so crazy, and it really scares me. Women scare me. And scare me. No, they do. Girls scare me. And I don't mean that in a pick-me girl way of like, girls are such drama. No, I love women. I love my girlfriends. But it's been like, I don't know, I guess throughout my life, I've always had one female best friend at all times. But then something has always happened, whether she gets jealous of me or she, like, her boyfriend doesn't like me for some reason. And then he turns her against me, maybe because, like, I'm telling her, like, he told you couldn't wear that. Don't let him tell you what to do. And then he's like, "Oh no, she's trying to infiltrate my relationship. You can't be friends with her." And then she's like, "Sorry, Caroline, bye." And I'm like, "Enjoy your loveless relationship." Anyway.
Wait, are you telling people not to? Wait, hold on. You told somebody that exact thing?
Well, okay. So if a boyfriend is telling one of my girlfriends, like a girlfriend comes to me and she's like, "Yeah, I would like to wear that, but my boyfriend doesn't want me to wear it." And it's like a tank top. Uh-huh. I'm like, what? He's clearly insecure. And I wouldn't say it like that pointed, but it would be like, well, don't let him tell you what to do. You're an independent adult. You can do whatever you want to do.
Right. So here's the problem. Here's the problem. I've experienced this with my ex-girlfriend, which was the stories she would tell her friends are always one-sided. It's always in a complaining manner, right? Always sort of just like trying to get it out type of situation, as opposed to a constructive conversation where two people are involved, where you then hear both sides of the story. And I think the biggest problem with women is this is what they do. They sit down, they start having conversations about things that are out of context, don't involve the other person to defend themselves. And one small thing gets into this like big thing all of a sudden that this man did. And now he's a narcissist with manipulative personality disorder and just like sociopath. And it's like all he did was say, like, don't look like you're wearing nothing when you go out.
I hear what you're saying. And to an extent, I agree with you. Because it's not really a gendered thing. It's more like are you guys communicating in a healthy way what your needs are and what you want in the relationship? But this is based on my personal experience, okay? Not in every single relationship that my friends have had has this been the case. There are so many of my girlfriends who have been in very healthy, amazing relationships with amazing men. But there have been a couple where the guy is just so insecure and controlling. And I've seen it. It's not just her side of the story. I'm observant. I'm watching because she'll usually defend him. And so I'm sitting back and I'm like, something's not adding up. Something's not right here. He seems like he wants to put her in a little box in a basement and throw the key away and never let her see the light of day again because he just wants to own. I've seen girls do that too with men. So like I said, it's not a gendered thing, but if I see some sort of toxicity in
But
the
why is that a
relationship with someone
toxic
I love-
thing?
Well, okay. So if it is something like, say your partner is a girl or guy is just wearing something egregious, not even a matter of it being slutty or not, but just something that's ugly. It's totally valid to be like, you know what? I don't really like that. But it's also valid for the other person to say, well, you know what? I do, so I'm going to wear it. I mean, if it's an article of clothing, I don't see why it should ever be a big deal to debate whether or not the person who wants to wear it should or shouldn't wear it. But that's just my opinion.
I think it depends on the person you're dating. Because there's girls who I've dated who I've like complete trust. Like, yo, you can go to all your girlfriends, do whatever you want. I know they're not going to cheat. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then there's girls who I've dated that when they say I would never cheat on you, in that moment, I believe them. I believe that they believe what they're saying is true.
Yeah.
But then when they're out and the drinks are flowing and they see their friends and they're talking to this guy and then her one friend's tapping her on the shoulder. Oh, this guy's cute. He likes you, blah, 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 blah. Then I'm like, in that moment, I think she might make a bad decision that she's going to regret later. And because of that, I feel like I need to have some sort of, like, if I don't say anything, it's almost like I don't care about the relationship then because I'm letting her put the relationship in jeopardy.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Look,
I mean, well, this is a personal question.
we answer personal questions.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm an open book too, so fair game. Have you ever been cheated on in a relationship?
My first one, yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, and that sucks.
No, I'm actually glad I did because it like hardened me for the rest of my life, you know. So then,
Oh no, but does it kind of scare you now?
Too
going
hard
forward?
as far as I'm concerned.
No, in a good way. No, I'm very good at stuffing my emotions deep down in my psyche where they belong.
Oh, that's not
and then
good.
manning up and fixing the problem like a fucking man.
Like a man.
Like a fucking
Let's
drink beer, watch football, and jerk off to Andrew Tate videos like a fucking man.
Oh yeah. No, bro, I feel you.
God.
But
also therapy's nice.
Oh, dear Jesus. Oh, God. You did not start this conversation. Here we go.
Interesting take on therapy that a lot of people disagree with.
Like, give it to me.
I think it's good for girls. I don't think it's good for guys.
Interesting.
For like 99% of guys. Here's the problem. Okay. What therapy does is it makes you feel better about the problem, or it makes it feel like it's not your fault, or you don't blame yourself, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't fix the problem. So, okay, if the girl's going to therapy, I get it. Like, you guys are born more hormones, emotions, blah, blah, blah. But then if you're going to therapy and then the guy's going to therapy and everybody's just crying, then who's fixing the problem? The problem's still going to be there. And you come back from therapy and you just have to go back to therapy again for another session. Like it's eternal therapy.
Give me a scenario. Give me like an issue, like an emotional issue, or like an issue that's based in a pattern that you've noticed in your life. Like it's a pattern of behavior that just keeps cycling and you're like, God, I want to change. I want to get out of this repetitive cycle, but I don't know how to do it. So maybe I'm going to give therapy a try. What is something that you would put in that scenario in a more specific way? Like something that someone would want to change in therapy from a man's perspective that you think would or wouldn't be beneficial?
Okay, for example, let's say you're dating a guy, right? Mm-hmm. No, let's up the stakes. Let's say you're married to a guy, right?
Oh, no.
You have 2 kids, 2 daughters, right? Running around the house. So he gets home from work one day and he goes, babe, I lost my job, right? Mm-hmm. And then he goes, babe, what are we going to do? He starts crying, right? Oh, we have a daughter to feed. We got bills to pay. What are we going to do? Wham. And you come home the next day. He's on the couch with a glass of wine watching reruns of Love is Blind. Oh, my God, my boss is so unfair. Do you want that guy? Or do you want the guy that's going to come home, babe, I lost my job. I'm upset, but I'm going to take my emotions, stuff them deep down where they belong. And 6 a.m., I'm going to man up. I'm going to start that business we always wanted. And we're going to make 10 times as much money as we were before.
Well, I do have a take on this, a little more nuanced as well. So what if you did both, though? I'm not saying that therapy is like it takes precedence over action. Because, I mean, I've been in that situation where like, oh, I've been in dire straits financially, had absolutely no one and no way to, like, I really thought that I had reached an end, like a rock bottom. And then I'm like, oh God, like, what do I do? And then, so, you know, of course, like I'll stuff my emotions so I can survive. I think anyone is capable of doing, well, maybe not everyone is capable, but everyone tries to do that at some time. But also I noticed that a lot of the reasons why I wasn't able to thrive in the way that I wanted to, the way I am now, was because I had a really negative mindset that was based in old patterns that I had learned in childhood and early adulthood that I wasn't even aware of. And so for me going to therapy, I was still being proactive in my life, but I was also able to address why I wasn't making the progress that I needed to be making. And so therapy genuinely helped me be more proactive. So it just built on itself. So it was both. I think men can do the same thing.
I don't know. It's just every scenario, like, right, I used to play football. Before the game, you get super nervous. And no matter what you do to talk yourself out of the nerves, you could say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just a game. It's just a football game. Or you could say, oh, I'm going to just power through these feelings of fear and anxiety, blah, blah, blah. But it never really goes away till you just go out there and like the kickoff happens and you get knocked out by some random dude. And then it's just like, it all goes away and you're good to go. Once you like take action. I've never been able to like talk myself out of a problem.
Well, there was actually breathing techniques you could do.
No, not breathing
Oh, they're
techniques.
so
Serious.
great.
No, what?
Kundalini,
Breathing tech-
motherfucker.
No, I cannot.
Well, actually, the scientific reasoning behind doing that is you are calming your nervous system. So your nervous system is so important, obviously. You can die early of a heart attack if you do not regulate your nervous system, okay? Because we're also dealing with cortisol, which is a huge killer. You know, it's your stress hormone. So if you're able to regulate your nervous system primarily through breathing, through breath work, that is the easiest and most efficient way to do it and cheapest way. So if you can learn how to breathe in those stressful situations, you are going to be able to trick your body into believing that it is not in a fight or flight situation. It is safe and it has room to think rationally about how to get out of the situation that is currently causing you that kind of stress.
Okay, let me ask you this. Because I tried this thing called meditation. Have you ever heard of meditation?
I might have.
So what you do, you sit there and you just stare at the wall for 20 minutes. My friend showed me it. She's like really into. She paid, you won't believe this, $2,000 to go on a meditation retreat where you go to somebody else's house and you stare at their walls.
You stare
and then you
at their
go
walls?
outside, you stare at the tree, you come back and you stare at the table. You just stare at stuff.
$2,000?
I told her, $1,000, you can stare at all the walls in I have a lot of extra walls. Nobody's staring at them. Nobody's even using them.
I'm missing out on a huge
$1,000,
business opportunity.
I know.
Yeah, no, I'm going to open up my apartment. I'm like, yeah, I got some nice walls.
I literally. But I tried because I was like, nervous about whatever it was. It made my anxiety worse. Because the entire time I'm just sitting there thinking about, like, every second that goes by is a second that this problem is not getting fixed.
Oh, you know why? All right, so this is some ASMR now. You have repressed your emotions for so long that they're too many. It's compounded on itself to where...
Compound interest.
Yeah, it's compound interest, baby. You're fucked. No.
You're a billionaire in trauma.
Yeah. You want some trauma? I got plenty of it. No,
right.
but I feel you though. I actually do. So, because when I started doing it, I hated it so much. It made me very uncomfortable. And I was thinking the same thing. Sometimes I think like a man, and I do try to, make every second of my life push forward towards the ultimate goal, which is to be rich and famous. So I'm like, or successful. So if I feel like I'm wasting time by not being like proactive in a very practical way, then I feel very insecure and very just impotent. And,
I gotta go like I'll go for a run, I'll go lift some weights, like that helps me, but like
that's a form of meditation.
Breathing exercises, I can't. It makes it worse for me. I don't know.
But you breathe while you work out.
Meditation
too.
and
like
breathing.
Happy, like
so actually, that's the breathing because my heart rate goes up and everything.
Well, no, actually, that's super beneficial. Like I think if that's meditation for you, then and it works, then absolutely, then that's your meditation.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I meditated this morning. I didn't like it at all. And I've been doing it for like 2 years now. And I still, some days are awesome. And I'm like, oh, God, why don't I do this more? And why don't I spend more time doing this? Because it just, like I said, regulates your nervous system and you can just be more efficient. But today I was like, oh, God, I just don't want to sit here looking at a wall or closing my eyes, listening to like this like meditation music in the back and just letting my brain cycle through all the shit that's been building up. Like, it sucked. But I did it and I actually felt better for it.
I just think too, a lot of the problems are just like people vape 24/7, stay up till 6 a.m. doing coke, and then like eat all sugar all day. And then they're like, yeah, I have anxiety because my mom put my sister's spelling test on the fridge. When I was 5 years old, she'd have put mine on the fridge. Trauma. I'm like, no, like, what do you mean? It's the coke. Stop doing the coke. That's giving you the anxiety.
I do. Yeah, I agree with that. I know so many people who are like that. I'm like, you know what your problem is? You're an addict. And you know what? I actually did the same thing too. When I never abused alcohol. Well, maybe I did. I really don't know. But I definitely drank way too much, even a year ago.
Me too.
And I kept, in fact, I could use a drink right now, to be honest with you. But I would sit there, I would be in therapy, and I would go to the gym, I'd work out, I would meditate, I would read, I would write, I would actually do practical things that I needed to do, but I was still just doing something that was horrible for me on a very regular basis. Like almost every single day I was drinking like at least 3 drinks, right? That's abusing alcohol, right? And so I was like, God, what's my problem? I was like, I'm doing everything right. And it's like, maybe you should cut back. So honestly, within the last year, I did cut back very much so. And my life got significantly better. My skin cleared up. I started to look better and feel better. And then my anxiety did go away. So yes, to an extent, you are right about that. But I think there are just so many moving parts to health and your well-being. It can be so many different things all at once without having a definitive, this is right and this is wrong. And everyone's different.
There is one thing that almost made me change my mind one time. So there's this study they did on people they have this brain thing where no short-term memory, right? All their long-term memory is still intact, but their short-term memory is not. You say hello to them, 10 minutes later, say hi, they have no idea who you are, right?
Yeah.
So they put these people in a little like doctor's office. The doctor would come in and he would say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Brown. Shake their hand. And he had a little like shock thing in his hand or a pin or something. So you shake his hand like, fuck,
Yeah.
Then they leave the room, come back 30 minutes later. Hey, I'm Dr. Brown. Boom, shock him again. Fuck, They did it 4 or 5 times. And after like 4 or 5 times, the doctor would come in the room, try to shake their hand, and they wouldn't shake the doctor's hand. But they didn't know why. And their brain would start making up reasons. They'd be like, oh yeah, I don't trust doctors. I'm a germaphobe. Literally their brain like invented reasons why they didn't want to shake the doctor's hand. And they're saying it's kind of like you do things in life to sabotage yourself because, you had some trauma in your past that really hurt. And you don't even remember what the trauma is, but those emotions still hurt. So they still affect you.
Yeah.
But I still don't think it's true, though.
You don't think it's true?
It's not that I don't think it's true.
Does that not remind you of someone?
Who?
You.
What do you mean? What do you mean, bro? No, definitely not. My point is more that might be the problem, but I don't think the solution has anything to do with dredging up the spelling tests on the fridge stuff. You know what I mean? Like the solution, I think, is like fixing. You don't need to remember what happened in your past to fix the problem.
Oh, you do. Oh,
what's an example?
This just happened to me.
Okay, go.
No, and I can't say. Oh God, I can't be very specific with the details because I'm a very traumatized person. Okay. A lot of fucked up shit has happened to me.
You don't seem that traumatized, actually.
Thank you. I've been in therapy.
I hate both of you.
Touche.
No, but like I said, a lot of moving parts. I think a lot of it is like exercise, therapy, reading, pursuing what I actually want out of life, but also dredging up the past. I was reading The Great Gatsby this morning. He's like, you can't relive the past. He's like, my dear boy, no, of course you can. And your brain will always recycle past trauma. And then PTSD, you see that with veterans, like...
Okay, that I could see. I could see that. Yeah.
So it depends on your level of trauma for sure, but everyone's different and your perception of your reality is always going to be different for everyone. But for me, I had a lot of repressed memories. I think the first time it happened to me where I remembered was when I was in high school, and someone in my life, someone very close to me, had abused me growing up. And so I remember I was walking my little sister. She was a baby. I was had her in a stroller, and I'm walking down the street. And then all of a sudden it was like a dam had burst in my subconscious, and everything, all these memories that I had totally forgotten about just came flooding back to me. When I tell you I literally collapsed on the pavement, still holding onto the stroller because I'm not going to let it go down the hill, but collapsed and just started bawling my eyes out. And I was like, I don't remember this happening, but I do remember this. That happened? Oh my God. And I'm so thankful that I remembered, because I didn't know why I was always so scared of certain situations and certain people. I didn't know why I was constantly triggered by so many things that shouldn't have been scary to me. But then I knew why, and then I knew how to address it and then get better so that, I'm not freaked out by, something innocuous that I would encounter on a daily basis. So yeah, it was beneficial for that specific instance for sure. Now, if someone's going to bitch and moan about, I don't know, their parents divorcing, don't get me wrong, I think that's terrible. I do think it's terrible. I'm sure that is a trauma, and I respect anyone's pain because it's all valid. But if someone's going to be I have to smoke weed every single day for the rest of my life because my parents got divorced when I was 13 and it just really affected me. I had 2 Christmases and we were still rich, but it just sucked. So, that's where I'm okay, I think you're just using that as an excuse to opt out of responsibility and accountability for yourself. But, PTSD is a real thing, not just for veterans. So,
Well, that's because they took, okay, here's what happened. Here's my opinion on it. They took out too much trauma. Where the point is if you're in 8th grade now and you get last place in the race, they're oh, here's a last place medal, good job, participation. You don't even have the trauma of losing a race in 8th grade. Then what's gonna happen? You're saying you have some anxiety about, I don't know, your boyfriend, blah blah blah, and you've never even experienced the trauma of like losing a race, like a race in gym class. So I think that's what happens. And like you're saying, there's like legit, okay, PTSD, you went to war, you fought, bullets whizzing past your head, your friends died, blah, blah. I get that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I think they took so much trauma out that now everything's trauma. And then the Gen Z people all made it like, oh, it's not your fault. It's the trauma's fault. You can't do anything.
There's no responsibility.
Yeah.
No, I hate that. I'm a huge proponent of accountability and self-awareness. Because God, there's nothing. This is a huge trigger for me when people. They want to cry and bitch all the time. Yes. No, I have a lot of triggers. There's a lot of trauma. But no, I just, when people cannot be self-sufficient, I think that's a toxic thing that I actually do need to work through. See, self-awareness. But people who can't, like, support themselves. I'm not even talking like financially, but like they can't survive on their own as grown adults. Like if they have had a very normal life. I don't know. I sound like an asshole saying that. I don't know. It bothers me. It's probably just because I'm bitter, because I'm like, oh, well, I didn't have the life that you did, so why are you sad? I have a reason to be sad. Like yeah, like an old man, a grumpy old man. I'm like, well, back in my day, I had to walk up and down like 5 miles to get to school. I don't know. So, I mean, that's just something I need to work through, but it does bother me when people just use their trauma to opt out of, being a functional, good person, and they don't treat others respectfully because they're like, sorry, I'm damaged, so I can't respect you. And it's like, no, you can. You can be a damaged person who is receiving help and working on themselves and still treat others with respect,
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, I dodged a bullet on this one. But about the whole like personal responsibility thing. So I went on a date with this one girl, right? Mm-hmm. And she literally was taking this guy to court for being too nice to her. I dodged this bullet like Neo in the Matrix. I was like,
for being too nice to her?
Okay, so here's what happened, right? So we start drinking red wine, which is bad for me because that's the one thing that gets me to open up, and I turn into a little simp beta male guy, blah, blah, blah.
Hey,
blah, blah.
Mo, can we get some wine?
So I'm opening up. She starts opening up and she's like, Zach, the last guy I dated like was abusive. I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy, piece of shit. I'm trashing this guy for no reason. I don't even know what happened, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, like did he hit you? No, not physical abuse. I was like, oh, so like emotional abuse? So no, not emotional abuse. I was like, I think that's all. No, verbal abuse. She was like, no, even worse than verbal abuse, financial abuse. And I was like, what? He like stole your money? He stole your credit cards? She's like, no, Zach. The problem was he paid all of my bills, so I was trapped in the relationship with him.
Is he single?
I have no fucking clue. He should have a fucking wife.
He can financially abuse me.
I was like literally, here is hundreds of dollars. Oh my God, I'm a victim.
Please stop.
And now she's taking me to court and taking his money again. It's crazy.
No, see, that's smart. She's smart. That's what she is. She's evil, but she's smart. She's because she's like, cunning. Okay, so he has all the money, so I'm going to take him to court and get more, but I won't have to be with him. Okay, so yeah, that sucks. Yeah. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for this motherfucker. Fucking help him out.
Oh my God. No, I wish someone would pay all my bills. I could get a sugar daddy, but that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, slide in. Slide into the DM. You heard it here first.
Why wouldn't you get a sugar daddy?
I've never had one.
Shocking.
Is it?
Well, I mean, you're in LA, you're pretty, you're,
Yeah, but I just got
in the
here,
entertainment industry, so hey, yeah, there is
like
time.
Like I said, listen,
if
if I can be remotely attracted to the guy and he isn't like doing it behind like his partner's back or something, like he's single and it's all like moral and ethical, then I mean, I guess I could see myself. I'm such a hopeless romantic. I don't think I could date like outside of genuine
What's your type?
Affection. I like very flamboyant, comedic men who it's awful. This is a problem because I kind of like overly confident men, but usually they're really cocky and secretly very insecure. But they put on this show, this air of like social superiority, like, nothing could ever faze me. I'm perfect. And I'm like, I like that guy. And then as soon as I get to know him, he is constantly just like trying to one up everyone because he feels like his dad didn't give him enough attention as a kid. And so he's constantly trying to be the man. And, he will compare me to other girls to try to get a rise out of me because he wants me to feel inferior to him so that he feels like he can like hold on to me or like he's worthy of me. And I'm like, you don't have to do that though. Because if I'm with you, I'm with you because I like you. And
sounds like a very specific experience.
Well, no, this has happened a lot with different people.
It's a pattern.
It's a therapy. I'm breaking the cycle, okay? This cannot continue. But no, this has happened at least 3 times. No, 4.
A lot of girls like toxic guys. Yeah,
I know.
It's a very common thing, yeah.
Well, okay, my last boyfriend, real boyfriend, the guy I dated for 5 years, incredible human being. I love that man so much. We are not in love, and I do not regret ending the relationship. But he is such an incredible person. He was so genuine and loving and kind, and just whoever ends up with him is going to be so lucky. And I tell him that all the time. We still talk and stuff, but he lives back in Nashville, and like we're just friends now. But and the only reason we broke up was because we wanted different things out of life, and he was ready to like settle down, and I'm clearly not. But he was not toxic, and I'm so thankful that I got to experience that. If I'm single the rest of my life, at least I got to experience that kind of relationship.
So what you're telling me is the one nice guy that everybody would be lucky to have him, he's the best experience of my life ever, that guy you broke up with.
It wasn't
but the
fair to
toxic
him.
Guys, it was what?
It wasn't fair to him.
Nothing's ever good enough.
But
it wasn't. I wasn't going to be fair to him because I was like, I don't want the same things you want. And if I and he was so in love with me that I was like, I think you're blind to what you need, because I knew in my heart of hearts that I had to get to LA and I had to leave.
Would
and
he
go
have
off and
moved
do
to LA
something
for
else.
you?
I think so. And I kind of brought it up, but at the same time, he had just started a new career. And a really good one too. Like he's a insurance broker, which I mean, it actually pays like a lot. So it's funny. Like I broke up with him right as he got rich, but like
he could have done that from anywhere.
Not really.
I mean, not really. He's an insurance broker.
Well, I mean, it's a
whole
thing. It's a whole thing. I don't know. I don't even know. It doesn't even make sense to me. But I also I knew that the relationship had run its course for various reasons, which I will not go into. But basically, I knew that he wasn't going to be happy with me either, and it's not because I'm not good enough. If he moved to LA
tomorrow,
huh?
If he moved to LA tomorrow, and he came up to you and was like, "Caroline, let's get back together,"
I would probably do a trial run. I wouldn't say yes. Well, I would need to see him like acclimate to this life because it's so different. Like he's a Virginia boy, he's comes from a very different life, and I respect the hell out of it, but it's just very different. Like we turned into different people during our relationship, and no one ever cheated or did anything. Like that's why it was so good. But we were turning into different people, and a lot of that was because we were so broken when we met. Both of us, he had been like cheated on by this heinous woman, and I was like suicidal and shit. And so when we met, we were very broken, and we kind of healed together. And
were you submissive when you were younger?
Oh yeah. No, I was the most obedient kid in the world.
And then you gradually came out of it, but you're not very dominant now. You're somewhere in between.
It kind of comes and goes. It depends on the situation.
Sure.
Yeah. Like
that's problematic.
Oh, really? Yeah. How so? Elaborate.
Because women like you don't have a place. You can't. No, it's true. Unfortunately,
You're gonna send her to more therapy mode. She's gonna have to go to extra session.
it happens, and
I like my
part of it is because of how society is, trying to change, the culture in women, and so what ends up happening is that women who are submissive and are accepting their submission, all of a sudden start to hear that they shouldn't be submissive, but they're not dominant creatures by nature. So what ends up happening is the women who are dominant, they're dominant. So they end up attracting men who are more submissive, and that's just natural. Women who are submissive end up attracting men who are dominant, and that's also natural.
Yeah.
But then what ends up happening is society starts telling these women that you shouldn't be submissive because of this and this and this. You're getting abused. This is what's happening. You're getting manipulated. This is what's happening. And so they're like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be submissive anymore. But they're not dominant by nature. So now they try to be more dominant. And so the men who are with them, they're like, what is happening? This is not the dynamic that we were supposed to be in to begin with.
That wasn't really the case in my relationship. Like, that was definitely not why it ended, because I was very submissive within that relationship, but we had a different kind of dynamic. So like, I would
I'm talking
be
about
strong,
now.
like, oh, now just in society.
Well, now with you.
Oh, with me, I've just gotten stronger, I think, but in a way that I feel more myself now than I've ever felt in my entire life. Like, I feel amazing.
Well, you can be strong and be submissive at the same time.
True.
The two aren't mutually exclusive.
That's very true. I mean, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, though. I think that's the main issue, is that I just don't. Well, one, I just haven't met anyone who I would, really want to be in a committed relationship with at the moment. But no, I was telling you about this guy the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
that's a lie.
Well, no. I mean, no, we're not. We should not be together, because he's just like what I described. Not my ex, but like all the other. He's just like that. So that's why I'm like, oh, I like him, but I can't. Conflicted.
Plus, the moon is in retrograde right now, so you definitely shouldn't get into something.
The Mercury's in the microwave.
Are you Capri Sun? What?
I am a Pisces. No, I'm the most Piscean Pisces that's ever Pisce'd.
Are you actually a Pisces?
I am.
I am too. Are you February or March?
March.
Let's go.
What day?
18th.
18th? Okay, that's, well, my little brother's the day after. But anyway, I'm the 9th, so 9 days apart.
Badass.
Yeah. We're the real ones. Mm-hmm. And then you're a Virgo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was the most Virgo I've ever met in my life.
I know,
Not even
right?
believe in signs, and he's still a Virgo.
No, he's
That's what
right?
pissed me off about it, actually.
I know, because he's proving it right.
I know. It's annoying.
You don't really come across as a Pisces.
I know. We're supposed to be crybabies.
Wait a second. Oh, that explains so much.
What do you mean? That's the opposite of what I am.
He's psychoanalyze you real quick.
The least crybaby I've ever met in my life.
Okay, but it's because you push down all your emotions.
Of course. As you should.
I can see you tearing up behind those blue eyes. You're just trying to keep those in. Oh, baby, don't do that.
To be fair, I'm a Leo rising, so.
I can see that as well. I only kind of, I do believe in it, but I also don't. I'm not going to stake my life on it, but I'll play around with it because it's fun.
I think it's super fun. I actually have a theory about horoscopes. If you plot on a map of the United States, all the cities that believe in horoscopes and the ones that don't believe in horoscopes, it all congregates around LA, Miami,
New York,
Las Vegas, New York, everywhere where networking is very important. And what I figured out is signs developed as a tool to very quickly go from small talk to oh, what's your personality? What are your hopes and dreams? Who do you get along with? Who do you not get along with? Instead of saying oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Ohio. Oh, cool. I'm from California, so I don't know anything about Ohio because they don't teach us that in the school system. You know what I mean? Whereas if you say, oh, I'm a Aries, it's oh, my best friend's an Aries. Oh, but I dated an Aries and we don't get along, blah, blah, blah. And then you can get onto interesting topics and connect with people.
And it's also, there are no stakes involved with that. because it's not an opinionated thing.
Yeah.
You're not talking about politics.
And therapy.
Yeah.
And
well,
religion.
therapy shouldn't be pointed. I mean, I love talking about religion so much. It's the best topic at Thanksgiving. I'm joking. I would never in a million years bring that up at Thanksgiving.
Oh, we bring it up all the time in my house. I love it.
Really? Has anyone died yet?
Unfortunately, Zach loves the wrench.
I like interesting conversation.
He has this wrench theory. Tell her the wrench theory.
Please.
Okay. Let's say you go to a party. Everybody's great energy. Nobody's weird. Everybody's cool. You'll come home and be like, that was a great party. And like a week later, you forget the party even existed, right? But if there's somebody at the party that just throws a wrench into things, right? Somebody's weird. Somebody gets drunk and falls in the pool. Somebody like throws a drink in this guy's face, blah, blah, blah. Then that's the party that 5 years later you're talking about. Yo, remember when Jasmine threw the drink in the guy's face? Yeah, he was such an asshole, blah, blah, blah. So you need like something that's a wrench that makes it interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a fact
or just somebody like, we have one of our friends. He's like a very wrenchy person.
really wrenchy
He always
person.
ends up stirring up some drama. There's always some
Call
like,
me
I don't
Bob
like
the
this
Builder
guy, blah, blah,
because
blah.
I'm a wrenchy motherfucker.
He's a wrenchy motherfucker. That would be his new nickname, Bob the Builder. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. But he's great.
Can we fix it? No, you can't. You're kicked out of the family.
Sorry, Bobo.
I might be that in my family a little bit. Only because I was the super submissive, obedient one. I was the good one. I was going to be the successor of the family. But then I, stopped being that. I don't even know when that happened.
Black sheep?
Probably
know. I
around the
think
same
all of
time
us-
feminism started.
Right. Goddamn feminism. Those feminists. Oh, God. Can't believe I'm one of them. I am, though. But
I know.
I actually am a feminist, too.
Well, technically speaking, we all are.
Rights, yeah.
yeah. I want to be able to swing a sledgehammer at the construction site. Yeah.
We were just talking about, he was making fun of us because, like, we don't have tools. We don't have, like Allen wrench and a hammer and, like, shit like that. Like around
You don't
our
have
house.
tools?
Yeah.
And I have tools in my apartment.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, he was trying to imply you're less of a man if you don't have tools, or like girls like a guy who's handy around the house, blah, 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 all this bullshit, blah, 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 you know? Which doesn't make any sense, because if something breaks in your house, either A, you have your boyfriend watch some YouTube videos, hey babe, I think the Allen, or just pick up the phone, hey plumber, fix my sink, boom, problem solved, 2 minutes.
Right? Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I fixed my car. Like, whenever I
No.
used to have shitty cars.
The only reason to fix it yourself is if you can't afford to just hire somebody to fix
That's
it.
not true.
Oh, I
Okay,
was
we're
broke.
talking about
And then
two
it's
different
like
things.
your sink is fixed, but your boyfriend's still broke. And then what are you
There
gonna do?
are issues that require specialties. Okay, those
Okay.
specialty issues are in one category. But there's another category, which is hang a fucking picture on your wall. You don't need to call anybody for it.
Everything on
That's
these
true.
walls, I went on this website, TaskRabbit. This guy comes in, he has one of those fucking levels that like does the lasers, so they're like perfectly straight. He's like measuring shit with his little measuring tape. And I'm sitting there playing Angry Birds, waiting for him to finish.
You're still playing Angry Birds?
I don't actually play Angry Birds.
Okay,
It
good.
just makes the story funny. And now all my shit is perfect. Nothing's, out of place. Mo would go up, probably nail the thing in the wrong spot. It cracks the
No,
wall.
I wouldn't.
Then he has to put in another nail hole, and this painting's too high. That, you know what I mean?
That's adorable.
That is.
I just
is
finished hanging paintings in my apartment, so.
I would never.
Anyway, if
I
you
would
need
never.
a
No, you
boyfriend.
But I'm not hypocritical. Like guys, I want a girl who can cook, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I do not give a fuck.
Oh,
if
he
my
has this
girl-
whole
You're
theory
like,
on
I prefer
cooking.
Postmates, so.
I will
Listen to
Uber
the
Eats.
cooking theory.
I will go out to. What are you gonna do? Go to the grocery store? Oh, like what's the recipe? Oh, do you know where the garlic? What aisle are the garlic cloves on? Like then you gotta wash the dishes. No, you hop in the BMW, you go to Catch, and you get some fucking steak. Like what do you mean? By a chef who spends his entire life making the best steaks that he's ever made. That's
You're making his dream come true.
Yeah,
The chef,
exactly.
We're making dreams come true.
and then we don't have to do dishes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, that's the thing.
Best of
Kayla's
both
very
worlds.
domestic, but I can cook, right? And so she's like, Caroline, we should make this recipe and that, but I hate cooking, but I can do it. And so I wasn't resentful toward her, but I'm just resentful toward the act of cooking. So last night after tripping shrooms, she was like, we should make bruschetta. And I was like, okay, fine. Gonna make fucking bruschetta. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And so I was like angrily making it, like I said, not toward her at all. Cause this is something that I want to be doing more of, cooking, even though I love Postmates. But I was like angrily like chopping up the potatoes and like chopping up the tomatoes. And I'm like, I don't want to be fucking doing this. And I'm like, here, it's done. And it's beautiful. And it tasted amazing. It was incredible. But I was just like, people do this every day? This sucks.
I cook every single day.
Fuck you.
Yeah, Mo, go fuck yourself.
I do. It's not that fucking
awesome.
difficult.
That's great.
But then it's like you buy like too many groceries and you have like half a garlic clove. It's like, now I just have this half a garlic clove just sitting in my fridge. What am I supposed to do with it?
I'm a Virgo. I do not waste food. Never buy too much. Everything is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Spreadsheet when you go to the grocery store.
Right.
Actually,
let me ask you something,
formulas.
Mo. What was the last mistake you made? Just
that's a good one.
Basic, like just a chill little mistake.
Technically speaking, yesterday, actually.
Oh, yeah? What happened?
I can't talk. Well,
Put it on the pod, Mo.
I can't talk about it.
We'll edit it out in post.
Yeah, I'm just curious now.
I gave somebody too much credit, and I shouldn't have.
That's such a Virgo thing to constantly be disappointed by people.
Yeah, it was more so actually. Okay,
They never live up to your expectations because they're so fucking high.
Okay, so God damn it. Okay, so I don't even know how to word this story. It's just like it's so fucking sad. The problem was I did not pay attention that somebody that I'm friends with would have a problem with how I can't. There's no way for me to tell this story without telling it. There just isn't. He already knows this story, so I'll just tell you. Yeah, I'll just tell you afterwards.
Okay, just remember it. Okay, or I'll
Wait, but I want to
remember
hear
for
the bath salt story.
It's so fucked up.
So, okay, is this like a Craigslist guy, or did you like already know this dude?
Listen, guys, I found most of my roommates on Craigslist, and I've had so many roommates. This particular situation, yeah, I did meet them on Craigslist, but that was not the roommate. He did me dirty. So what happened was I was living in Antioch, Tennessee. Do you guys remember that part in The Lion King when Mufasa says, "Look, Simba, everything the light touches is the Pride Lands. It is our kingdom." And he's like, "But what about that dark, shadowy place?" Thank you. It's a great fucking movie. It is. He says, "Well, what about that dark, shadowy place?" And he goes, what does he say? He was like,
something like,
those are never go there. You must never go there, Simba. Okay, so Antioch, Tennessee is the dark, shadowy place that you should never go to. You are lulled to sleep by the sound of gunshots. It is very lilting. So basically, I was roughing it at the time. I think I was 21. Anyway, broke as fuck. Desperately needed a place to live. Found this house in Antioch for $400 a month, I think. Cheap as fuck. Yeah, but I had like 6 roommates. It was a big ass house, but like 2 couples in each room. Like, it was an ordeal. And thank God the guy who owned it, he was so awesome, super chill, not creepy at all, just like a normal fucking guy. Fantastic. So most of my roommates were great. There was one guy, and we were all friends too. We all became friends. Except for this one bitch. She was so rude to me. I drove her to work once after she tried to make fun of me in front of everyone, and she didn't even offer to pay for gas, and she didn't even say thank you for me driving her. Anyway, that was a segue. So basically, this other roommate, we were getting closer, I guess, as friends, but I was dating this guy at the time, and so all 3 of us were friends. And so there was no weird vibe. Everything was chill. And I'd lived there for a few months at this point. I got home from work. I was bartending, so I think I got home like really late, at like 3 a.m, and nothing weird had happened up until this point. So I go to my room, and I'm just getting ready for bed. I'm tired as fuck, ready to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, I hear like boom, 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 boom through the hall, and I'm like, what the fuck? All of a sudden, this guy just bursts into my room and he goes, Caroline! This mad look in his eye. And I'm like, fuck, what are you doing here? I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you, but I'll call him Jeff. So Jeff bursts in. He's like, Caroline! I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing? He's like, I just realized we're in love. Not I'm in love with you. We're in love. And we're going to get married. And I was like, okay, calm down. What's going on? I'm not freaked out yet. He runs up to me, grabs me, throws me on my bed. And that's kind of scary. I'm a martial artist, so I have this God complex where I feel like I'm invincible. So I wasn't even scared at this point. I was just amused, if that makes sense, and concerned for him. But he throws me on my bed and he's holding me like this and he's like right up against my face and he's like, I love you and we're going to get married and we're going to have kids and it's going to be great. And guess what? We're going to save the world. And he screams as loud as he can. And I'm like, and he just like lets me go and then runs out of the room. And at this point, all my other roommates hear it and they're all military people. So they're all brandishing knives and guns and stuff. And so they're running out. This is Tennessee. Anyway, we all run downstairs. I called my boyfriend at the time and I was like, hey, so you'll never guess what Jeff just did. And I told him the story and then he's like, Jeff, what a guy. He's so funny. And I was like, you're not taking this seriously. And he's like, anyway, do you need anything else? Cool, I'm going to go to bed. And I was like, fuck you. Broke up with him like a month later. But anyway, went downstairs and this guy, Jeff, he's barricaded in the garage. Everyone's standing outside the door like this with all their weapons. And then they're just like, what's going on? What's the problem? And I was like, I don't fucking know. We open the door. He's rocking back and forth on his like with his knees like this. He's rocking back and forth. And he's like, I'll be a hero, baby. I'll be a hero. And he's just singing. And he's like, that's for you, Caroline. That one's for you. And I was like, okay. They're like, okay, so we're going to call the police. They called the police. They escorted him out because my other roommates were really freaked out at that point. And so, yeah, that was the story. He moved out the next day when he was released and he was very apologetic. He was like, I was definitely doing something I shouldn't have been doing. So I'm sorry. Totally understand if you never want to talk to me again. And so I just sent him a little text. I was like, it's fine. I think that's all I said.
Is it crazy that I was waiting for the punchline of the story to be that he just like blew his brains out 2 seconds later?
Oh, that would have been terrible. No, he was actually a sweet guy. He had a moment, I guess.
Trauma.
I don't know. Yeah, trauma.
All I was waiting on was she said, I love you, Caroline.
Virgo energy right here. Virgo
Yeah.
energy,
I'm just saying.
That's some
Zero
dark
emotions.
No, that would have been terrible.
So do you think he really was in love with you and it came out during that? Or do you think he was just going crazy because he was on bath salts? Or do you think the whole time
I think he had a
in love with
crush on me, but like he didn't really give me the vibe of like, I'm in love with you.
you? Okay.
So I think it was just an amplified emotion. Yeah, because we weren't like that close. We would hang out and play cards occasionally, but like that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. But that's not the first time that's happened, so I don't know.
Women.
I know.
It's not the first time that's happened?
Well, the first time, like when someone has
yeah.
erratically said
Confessed
that they're
their
in
love
love.
to her.
Yeah.
We call them orbiters.
Orbiters?
Do you know anything about physics?
A little bit.
So you know, like the Earth orbits around the sun. Mm-hmm. So this is the orbiter. He's just waiting for a shot, just being friends with you, but just waiting.
that just happened.
Waiting for the breakup, waiting for you get drunk one night and you blah 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 blah. You're in your feelings. He's just waiting.
That happened a few weeks ago when I was in Europe. Not even going to go into that story. Basically, someone who I considered one of my best friends, who we had many conversations about how we were never going to date. And we're like, okay, so I'm glad that we're just friends. And he's like, yes, just friends. I promise you, I'm never going to be weird. And I was like, cool. So we went to Europe together, just platonic friends, never hooked up. Yeah, like we had that kind of friendship.
Thinking, now's my shot.
Wait for the story.
Go.
Interesting.
And it's so funny because he alleges that he didn't know that he was in love with me until we got there. But I think that was a total lie. Well, now we're not friends anymore. Basically, when he confessed his feelings, he had just been really shitty the entire time, basically, and had been a horrible friend in person in general. And so basically, when we got home, or he went back to Nashville and I stayed in LA, I was like, you know what? You are not a person I want in my life, because you were manipulating me the entire time. I really did trust you to not make things weird, and you were just you were like a predator, just like waiting for your opportunity to strike. An orbiter. Yes, exactly. That's a perfect description of it. And that really sucked. So
I'm gonna blame you a little bit in this particular situation. Okay, and I'll tell you why. So here's what happens. She goes to Europe. Okay. She tells me that, oh, I'm gonna be like gone for a while. I'm like, cool. She goes to Europe. She's posting all these things on Instagram, and I'm like watching her stories, and I'm like, huh, interesting. And I send her a message, and I said something along the lines of like who's the boyfriend, or like something like that. And she replies, oh, there's no boyfriend here. Like I'm essentially saying like she's single, and this is just like, you know, like there's nothing going on.
Okay.
Right?
That all makes sense.
Here's the thing. If I could see it through just the story, or like few stories that you had posted, I feel like you should have seen it from a mile away.
in a way I kind of did, but only after we got there. And that was the problem. Because we hadn't been in that kind of situation. In retrospect, don't get me wrong, I realize I wouldn't do it again, basically.
Right.
At the time, it seems like a good idea.
How long after I sent that message to you did he confess his love?
Oh, that was after the vacation when we got back to LA.
Oh, when you got back, he confessed his love.
we got back, but he had been
so
like...
he didn't... Oh, he was just acting weird.
But he started to act weird, yeah.
So all the resentment was coming out.
Me the whole time. I know, and I was helping him get bitches. No, he's like fucking this girl in the hotel room, and I'm like in the living room, and I'm in the other room, and I wake up at 5 a.m, and I hear them like, and I was like, yeah, I get it. And so I'm helping him out this whole time. And then whenever, like, I'm about to go in for the kill with someone, girl or guy, he's just like, oh, wait, but me, look at me. I'm a child and I need all your attention, please. I'm like, fuck.
Did he pay for everything?
No.
Okay.
We split. I might have even paid for more, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, swear to God. I'm really pissed about it, but anyway. Not that I wanted him to like pay for things, but I'm pissed because I felt like he kept saying, oh my God, I'm so broke. And I was like, don't worry, I'll get this dinner. You know, like I would for like my girlfriends, you know, like anyone. So anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting, man.
I actually very much disagree with you on that, Mo.
You don't think she should have seen it?
Whether you see it or not, though, if you make it clear to the person, hey, we're just friends, blah, blah, blah. If they choose to go on that trip still in love with you, even if you know that they're in love with you, okay, we can still have a fun trip together, maybe. You know what I mean? And like, that's not her responsibility.
No, for sure, 100%. But the maybe part of it is the problem. Which is like, if I knew, okay, it's like this. I go skydiving. Okay. They tell you there's a possibility you're going to die. Right? Mm-hmm. But there's a high chance you're not going to die. Low chance of possibility you're going to die. High chance you're not going to die. Right? If I go skydiving and I die, I knew there was a possibility of me dying.
Okay, Mo.
That's all I'm saying.
But you really don't expect to die when you go skydiving. Otherwise, I would be concerned for your mental health and your...
Do I actually still be mad at whoever set up your parachute that fucked up setting up the parachute, even if you did die?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I pack my own parachute every single time. Okay, but the main reason why I pack my parachute is because I don't trust anybody else to pack it.
Wait, in real life or in this analogy?
In real life.
Oh, that's cool.
And also in the analogy.
Okay.
I thought it was because you're a control freak.
Virgo.
Well, yeah, I mean, potato. What's the difference?
Okay, if I would have followed your advice, Mo, I would have had to turn gay.
How's that?
Oh.
So here's what happened to me. Let me tell you a very similar story, right? So I went to the Abbey.
Have you been to the Abbey?
Love it. It's biggest gay bar in West Hollywood. One of my friends is like, come on, it'll be fun, blah, blah, blah. So go there. So guy comes up to me, starts talking to me. He's obviously gay. And he's like, oh, let me buy you a drink, bro. I'm like, no, just to be clear, I'm not gay. Don't worry about buying me a drink. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll buy you one anyway. Buys me a drink, right? Start drinking the drink that he bought me. Then he goes for the makeout. And I was like, bro, I told you I wasn't gay. If I would have followed your advice, I would have to kiss him back. Because I put myself in that situation by accepting the drink, right?
No, that doesn't
I don't think you're saying
apply.
that like you should accept the consequences.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying accept the
I get what you're
consequences.
saying, and I get what you're saying.
But I'm right though.
You're more right.
Yeah,
but I also get where you're coming from.
No, but in this situation, I'm right because you knew that this guy is gay. And there's a possibility that he's going to make a move on you because he already did make a move on you when he bought you a drink. Why else would he buy you a drink? If you're a guy and go and buy a girl a drink.
I told him not to buy me one.
That means nothing.
No. I destroyed your entire argument. I destroyed your entire argument in one fell swoop. Game over, no respawns. You're just mad that I won.
I think the comments will speak for themselves. We'll see.
We'll let the people vote.
I see where both of you are coming from. Like I said, I think you're more right. But in my situation, though, we had that conversation in depth multiple times where I had even confided in him. I've had so many guy friends in the past who I really did trust. And maybe I'm just a naive person, but I was like, I have really trusted in the past. And not that they did anything like awful or wrong, but like where I really thought we were just friends. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're like confessing their feelings for me. So I really, and this was months before the trip too, I was like, I really appreciate that we have a genuine platonic friendship and you haven't tried to do anything. And I really appreciate that. And I also hope that that is something we maintain for the foreseeable future because I value your friendship so much in my life. And he was like, absolutely. You know, I would never do anything to like hurt our friendship, blah, blah, blah. He was a very good talker too. So now I realize that's why we're not friends anymore because I realized that he was genuinely just that manipulative.
I think that's a piece of information that changes things.
Yeah.
Because if you're direct with someone and because yes, people's emotions change and that's fine. But if you're direct with someone and it's like within the timeline where something does happen like this and somebody says to you, hey, yep, I definitely have no feelings for you, blah, 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 then you're either just completely unself-aware or you're a pathological liar.
Which he might be.
Both.
Like you were saying about the whole, there's two sides to every story. I won't accuse him of anything. But is it a possibility? A high probability? Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like you got a ton more stories as far as your dating life is concerned.
This is why I'm in therapy, so I can avoid these kinds of situations in the future. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
We're going to have to do another episode. There's a new acquaintance, I would call her. She's actually going to be on an episode soon. Maybe we could squeeze you guys together and you both could talk religion.
Oh, I would love to.
That would be interesting.
Please. Wait, is she religious?
So yeah, so she's, long story short, she's trying to save herself for marriage. She's had sex before.
Oh, okay. So she's like a born again virgin,
so to speak. But there's a lot more that goes into that. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it, but I think the way that people go about it is kind of hypocritical sometimes. So.
I feel that. But don't get me wrong, I kind of did the same thing back in the day too. Where I was like, okay, so starting now, I'm a virgin again. Hey. Granted, virginity is a construct. It's not real. Virginity is not a real thing. It's a total construct.
What the fuck does that mean?
Virginity is a construct. Well, it's like you can't lose your virginity. You just had sex.
You're saying nothing is actually lost.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Except your hymen.
Well, actually, you don't actually have to ever break your hymen, ever. If you are lubricated enough and if you're not being like absolutely stabbed and there's enough like lubrication, your hymen can stay intact for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but what do you, every single time you have sex, like maybe make sure you like dump the full bottle on.
Not the full bottle, just make sure she's turned on. That's all I request.
Yeah, but that with every pump you have to lubricate, like that's just like after a while.
You have to have like gentle,
also,
like
after like 30 minutes, you dry up.
It depends. It depends.
There's no like after 30 minutes, if you've been with somebody for a long time, like I'm not talking about the first time, second time, you could still be like highly aroused within like the first like couple of months maybe. But like after like 2 years of having sex with the same person, after 30 minutes, you're still that wet?
That sounds like a you problem, Mo.
Lube. But I get what you're saying, and I agree. Because, well, I'm not going to go into that. But you can use lube. Lube is great.
Yeah, but then also, like, you have to, like, be trying to, like, avoid it. It goes in the middle, right?
What do you mean?
It's okay. Like, let's say I was dating a girl. She wants to keep her labia intact or hymen intact, whatever.
Her labia?
She wants. Yeah, she does.
Please don't tear my lips off my actual body.
So, like, you kind of got to go in an angle to go around the hymen every time you go in. You got to kind of curve it around.
Curve it
I'm
around.
assuming.
What are you, a car?
Oh, not necessarily. So,
Well, you got to, like, you don't want to hit it direct on.
well, don't get me wrong. Mine's been broken for a minute, but I'm just saying.
What are you talking about?
Well, no, I'm just saying technically. I
Yeah,
actually have
okay,
no
okay.
like point to this except for the fact that technically
Virginity.
it never has to be broken, especially if you're gonna bring virginity into it.
I see.
So,
do
like,
you
some
know
people-
a single person who's kept their hymen?
Well, guys usually don't do it correctly the first time with a woman, so I don't.
So this
think
is
I
a
do.
theoretical
Well,
exercise.
no, this is a scientific thing that you can look up.
We wouldn't do it correctly. Like,
But I mean, it
Well,
being
no, just
scientific.
lubrication. Like, you just don't have to, like, unless it's a gigantic penis. Like, that's the thing. If it's also massive, then
that's
there's
my
probably no
problem,
way
I guess.
around it. But I mean, if it's just like,
But for it to be scientifically proven, there has to be a person alive.
oh, I bet there's a person
has-
alive somewhere.
oh, for sure, yeah, they exist. This is coming from gynecologists, like my personal gynecologist.
There are people who have had sex multiple times.
I mean,
And their
well, it
hymen is
depends on who
intact.
you're having sex with. But technically, from a biological standpoint, it just never has to tear while having sex, unless someone is just a monster.
Imagine there's a girl who started off as a virgin. She starts dating our good friend. I won't say his name. I don't think that shit's ever gonna break.
Oh no! See, yeah, that's definitely a
very-
situation in which it's not gonna.
Oh, I was saying because he's very responsible and would definitely use lube. What were you guys thinking of? Wow! Oh my god!
Oh,
You guys are
poor
assholes.
guy.
You guys are such assholes. Narcissist sociopaths over here.
Well,
People.
can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel really bad for guys who, you know, how you can't control your anatomy.
Okay.
I feel really bad for guys who do just have small penises.
Well, you don't have
like-
to particularly. Because we have a friend who's going to be on this podcast probably at some point.
First question. So what is it like?
Actually, you know what?
By the way, that was
will
not.
be the first
I'm not
question.
trying to interrogate either of y'all about it. I was just curious from like a
No, we have a
male
friend.
standpoint.
We have a friend. Recently, this conversation came up. She loves guys with small dicks. The smaller, the better. Not even joking.
I wonder if she's just ultra sensitive.
Maybe.
We're going to talk about it with her. So we'll see.
Or maybe it's like guys that have small dicks, like in order to like compete in the sexual marketplace, they had to like get so good at everything else that they're just like fucking Jackie Chan at everything else. Just
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're
well,
so
think
good.
of lesbians. They put on strap-ons if they want to do that,
Or,
or they
yeah.
just use their hands or mouth. So,
yeah, but if you use a strap on, it doesn't even feel. I don't know.
have you experienced a strap-on?
I haven't.
Well, I use a dildo and it's great. So,
Well, for you, yeah, of course. What do you mean?
but I mean, like, okay, so Kayla's, well, she's technically bisexual, but most of her relationships have been with women. And so, let me tell you something. She is always, well, whenever she's like, you know, with someone, she's always having phenomenal sex. And I'm so jealous.
With women.
Yeah.
Because you have
Always.
not had phenomenal
No,
sex.
I have, but hers is just consistent. Whenever she's with someone, you know, like right now, you know, she and I are both practicing celibacy, but
Of course you are.
I know, listen, it started last week, okay?
Of course it did.
Yeah, I started eating celery recently too.
Oh yeah, celery cleanse, juicing.
Actually, I have been celibate since the last time I had sex.
Oh really?
Yeah,
How's that been for you? What's that journey like?
the journey is boring.
Wait, what is your reasoning?
Oh, my reasoning is, well, like I said, I'm a hopeless romantic, and apparently I get too attached way too easily. So I'm trying to do this thing but I'm also very...
Oh, dear Jesus. You get too attached too easily.
I get too attached too easily, but also I'm an incorrigible flirt. And so I want to be doing it all the time, but I also know that I can't. For safety reasons, like I just also don't
Can't with, like, you mean different people?
Well, no, I mean, preferably with like one person, but I mean like...
So then why wouldn't you be able to do it with the same person?
Well, I don't have a person right
often
now.
Right. Well, sure. But, okay. You're a hopeless romantic. You get too attached.
Yeah.
But then you end these relationships.
Because I'm looking at the long-term effect. I'm looking for longevity. So if I know that it's going to end up hurting me more than helping me, then I'm like, well, I need to nip this in the bud now so I don't put myself through undue stress and pain.
But wouldn't that contradict getting too attached?
A little bit. Well, don't get me wrong. I'm suffering in silence whenever I cut it off. Like I am a wreck. Not right now at this very moment, but I'm usually just really trying to, one, be healthy about it, but my emotions are all over the place. Like I'm internally freaking out. Mm-hmm. And so I try not to make it anyone else's problem, but usually it takes me a long time to recover from a situationship.
So, okay, the one guy you dated for 5 years, you kind of, maybe not fell out of love with him, but kind of weren't in that same energy you brought with him. Yeah. But the guys that are like the cocky guys, blah, 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 those guys, do you end up breaking up with them, or do they break your heart?
The last one I just blocked because I did.
Fuck. Girls are always blocking people, Mo.
It's so easy because it's just like, it's so powerful. It's a power trip because you're just like, oh, I don't like your tone in that text. Block.
It's just so childish.
Oh, really? Well, I just don't.
Girls are like, I like people with good communication. Block.
Well, if he's not communicating, because that's usually the problem, where I'm trying to get some sort of communication out of them, not like an obsessive, like, oh, why isn't he texting me back, but just general communication, like, what are we kind of communication? Then it's like, oh, it's not being communicated. I feel like someone's playing games with me, and they're probably out like fucking other people, which is fine if you communicate that to me. But then I have to wonder about my safety, like, are you wearing a condom with that person? Are you not? Like, it's stuff like that where it's very practical. And so if they're not communicating that and they genuinely refuse, then that's when I'm like, okay, this is not worth my time. Like, I'm not saying you're a bad person, but you're a bad person. You don't care enough about me to want to communicate, or maybe you're just not mature enough. And like I said, you're not a bad person, but like clearly we're not on the same page. So why should I waste my time? That's kind of where I'm coming from.
But so the blocking isn't as much so like this is a logistical thing to stop their text. It's more so like, I'll show you, boom, gotcha, bitch, like that.
No, because it's actually worse. Because I would much rather them still follow me on my socials so that they can like watch
and your ratio,
like, so they can see they can like see all the things that I post, and they can like follow along on the journey that is my amazing life. But when I block them, it's actually painful because I'm like, oh god, I won't be able to like make you mad. So it's actually anti-petty to do it, because I'm just doing it so that I'm not stressing about them seeing what I'm doing. Because if I'm thinking about them observing me, then it's just stealing my peace. Like I can't do anything.
I see.
Yeah. So that's me. That's why I do it. So
I just got blocked by like not the last one, but before that, the last 3.
The last 3?
Yeah. But it wasn't my fault. I was trying to communicate with them actually.
What'd you do?
No, okay. I don't know if I should go into this. Okay, fine. Usually I end up in not relationships, but like where we're not exclusive. I say we're not exclusive. It's clear we're not exclusive. But then they want me to be exclusive. It's like the opposite of what happened to you with the friend guy.
Oh, God.
Like, yeah. I tell them, oh, yeah, I don't want to be exclusive, blah, blah, blah. But then still they think, oh, but he's going to be exclusive if I just keep winning him over, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, like it's a competition at that point. Like he's going to break first.
Yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be exclusive because I have trust Concerns, not trust issues, trust concerns.
issues. Let's unpack that. Where's the wine?
Well, there's only 2 things I'm scared of in life: commitment and sex with a girl on top. Now,
what? Sex with a girl on top?
Have zero self-awareness of the imminent and prominent danger they put a guy in every time they're on top.
Oh.
I used to date this girl. She was a nurse in the ER, right? I'm not kidding you. She said, Zach, twice a week, somebody will come into the ER with something called, you can Google this, penile fracture. This is a real thing.
That happened to New Girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a real thing. So girls, like girls are on top, right?
Yeah.
And they do this thing where they like rock their hips all the way up so your dick is like this far from slipping out. And then they just slam with the entire force of their entire body weight down over and over and over, right? If one time it slips out, she will literally break your penis in half and you can never have sex
I don't
again.
even have a
this
dick
is a
and
real
that hurts
thing.
me.
So I always get, I will literally
So you're scared of that.
And then the girl I dated that worked in the ER, she got mad because I would never do girl on top sex with her anymore. I'm like, you brought this on yourself.
Yeah, but I feel like she's the authority on how not to do that.
I know, but I couldn't stay hard. I was just like,
oh, because you're thinking of it the whole time.
That's probably the most trauma I have in my life. That's like some trauma, right? I need some therapy for that.
Well, then you've had a really happy life. Then congratulations. I'll give you some of my trauma. No, that's terrible though. So I have never done that to someone.
Thank God.
I don't think I have. No, I've definitely never done that to someone. But I mean, that goes for both people though, like to be conscious of like how you're doing it, like does it
Not
feel
everybody's good at sex, so.
That's true. Oh, that's true. Well, I'm great at it.
I do think it's interesting. This is going to sound really cheesy and like corny, but I really do think the best sex does come with having like a really strong connection with the person.
Absolutely.
Like people are like, oh no, you got to be hanging from the ceiling and your balls are handcuffed to the chair and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, not really. Like most of the best sex I've had is just like, yeah, missionary doggy style, like the basic shit, but it's just like with a really good connection,
Yeah, because if it flows and like you're not thinking about your movements, everything's just in sync and you're just in the moment, that's the best part.
Yeah.
I've had say like I meet this insanely hot Adonis of a man, right? Mm-hmm. And on paper he's like everything. Or girl too. This goes for girls and guys. And then you're having sex and you realize that the only reason you gravitated toward each other was because they were objectively, societally beautiful, but there was no chemistry there. It can be the worst sex of your life. Horrible.
I believe
like you actually get disgusted, not by them, but just like the interaction. It's like, oh no, this just does not work. This is not a thing.
I think like missionary is like pretty underrated. Like it's a pretty solid position,
I mean, it's a go-to. It's kind of like just your starting base.
Right?
yeah, like not first base, but it's your starting base. It's like.
Now, blowjobs on the other hand, that's all form, technique, attention to detail. It's that stuff. The connection does not matter. Precision, yes.
So you guys have heard of Call Her Daddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you heard of the Gluck Gluck 9000?
Yeah.
Oh, baby, yeah, that's
they exaggerate it, but it is a good move.
Absolutely.
But they definitely exaggerate it.
Well, they also build upon it in future seasons. I think in a recent one too. Like they just build on the things you can add to it. Like what? Anyway, it's a whole thing.
What can you add to it?
Huh?
Come on, Caroline. Give away the secrets.
Listen, if I had some tequila, maybe, but
we got some tequila. We got like 8 bottles of it sitting in the kitchen right now
from the party.
Well, if we're gonna talk about this, we'll need a drink.
Do you want to, or are we wrapping up?
I think we're wrapping up, but I think next time we're gonna have you on, and we'll definitely talk with Becca, who's gonna be our guest, and.
Oh, she's gonna be traumatized.
And
I'm gonna be nice.
You know what? I think she's gonna have probably some of her own experiences she could share. But at the end of the day, Gluck 9000. What is it? Plus Caroline.
Yeah.
Gluck 9000.
We'll think of a better name.
Yeah.
Plus.
No, I'll workshop it.
I always call it the 300.
The 300?
Well, that's a different move. That's if they're deep throating like super far and super hard. Have you ever seen the movie 300?
Yeah.
Okay, so one time I was getting a blowjob from this one girl. So it's a war movie, right? It's like a war movie. You know the scene where he takes the bow and arrow and he's like,
Yeah.
and it goes through the guy's back of the skull.
Yeah. So that's what
Felt
she.
like my dick. I had to check the back of her head, like make sure it's not like popping through. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
So now I call it the 300. Yeah. I wanted to show this is Sparta.
Oh man, wait, did you do that?
No, it'd been
Thank
funny though. I should have just for the story. It would have totally been worth it for the story. I should have done it.
I would have walked around the table and slapped
And then
you.
I like kick her. I like do the kick where they kick him into the hole, you know?
Oh my
I'm kidding.
You're like, it was a bit. It was a bit. And she was like, oh
was-
my God. She's like, okay, I need therapy now.
All right, we're getting canceled off.
Oh God.
I called the Glut Plug 300. Okay, that was funny.
All right. Well, before this whole channel gets canceled, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. We're gonna have you
been
again
fun.
on here soon.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, absolutely. Thanks for watching.